Good morning, everybody. I am super excited to be here. My name is Maggie Cavanaugh. I am your host for Keys to Your Best Life, and I have an amazing guest today. And I cannot wait for her to, my music's not working here. Well, okay. We're not going to have any music today. I can't wait for her to share with you what God is doing in her life and the life of her ministry. And so I just want to say to you, thank you for watching this. We will not be interacting in the broadcast. We will go back and answer any questions, comments, and concerns later on in the broadcast. So hello to you on Facebook, Periscope. Those of you listening to this on the replay, put hashtag replay. If you're watching this for the first time, put hashtag first time. YouTubers, we love you. Make sure you like, subscribe, and get this out to your crew, because there's some amazing information today about what God is doing through the lives of young girls as a result. Samantha. So Samantha, I don't want to butcher your name. But I think Samantha DeGrasse.
Don't pronounce the E. DeGrasse.
Samantha DeGrasse. I like that. So I wasn't sure how to pronounce. I was going to ask you before the broadcast, and then I was like, I'll get it, and then messed it up anyway. But
it's all good.
I thank you for being on the broadcast today.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you here. So, you ever have those people in your life where you're like two ships passing in the night. You're connected in all these areas, and then you finally get to meet them, and you're like, this is so cool. So Samantha and I have been Facebook friends. We know each other from Christian Women in Media. We also are under the covering of ACT, which is Artists in Christian Testimony out of Natchez, our 501c3 covering. Yeah. So we know each other from all these veins, but we really have never got to spend any time together until recently. And I was like, I want to interview her. She's got such great stuff going on. And I want to share with you all today what she's doing in the lives of young women and what's going on in her world. So Samantha, I was so moved, matter of fact, moved to tears with what you're doing with Build Her a Bridge.
Thank you.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about how Build Her a Bridge started?
Sure. So I have a 12-year-old daughter, Sophia. Hey, Sophia. So pretty much just how anything happens with churches or businesses, how things get started, they get started right in your living room. So that's pretty much how Build Her Bridge got started. My daughter would have tons of her friends come over, and they would just ask questions, and they would want to know certain things. And sometimes I had the answer for them, and sometimes I didn't. And sometimes I would have to tell them, like, you know what, let me go ask my friend so-and-so, who's the expert in that. And so it came to a time when I just said, Sophia, what if we did something where we kind of met monthly and we kind of did other things besides you guys just talking about whatever you want to talk about? We can actually structure it and organize it in a certain way that we could talk about different things. And from there, that's where Build Her Bridge sort of blossomed. And I didn't even come up with the name or anything. It was just girls group hanging out at Miss Samantha's house. Literally, that's how it was. And then I think as the group really started growing and we started coming up with different ideas and community service projects and how we can do this, that's when I really felt like, you know what? There's got to be something here. If my daughter has her group of friends and her friend invites her friend and her friend invites her friend, I mean, this could really be something really, really big. So in the beginning, I wasn't even thinking about it being a ministry or a nonprofit or a foundation. I was just thinking that these girls were just going to come together and hang out. And then it sort of grew. And then we started doing community service projects. We got our 501c3 based off of ACT. And now we're doing a lot of community service projects. We are doing a lot of things with bullying and mental illness. So we are building, and it's growing and it's growing and it's getting better and better. Glory be to God.
Oh my goodness, that was so exciting. Give us an example of one of the, I know you've done several projects, but what has been one that's really near and dear to your heart?
So one of the things that we did back in October, there's a bridge over here in Franklin called the Natchez Trace Bridge. One of the girls in our group actually had someone really close to them commit suicide and actually jump off that bridge. The girls were really affected by this because it was one of their good friends and she's part of our group. And so the girls are always they're very creative. So they're always wanting to do something like, what can we do? That opened up the door for us to really talk about what is suicide? What is mental illness? I mean, the girls had heard about what mental illness is, they hadn't really experienced someone close to them actually commit suicide until this very moment in October. So back in November of 2019, the girls and I decided that we were going to go out to the Natchez Trace Bridge, and we were going to write messages and signs along the bridge, and we were going to post it all along the bridge. I did not think anything of it. I just said, you know what, girls, go for it. And they were writing positive messages. They were writing things like, you deserve to live. Your life is valuable. You are a ray of sunshine. If you weren't here, how would you know that you're missed? Reach out for help. That really started opening the door to talk about if one of these girls that they knew committed suicide and jumped off this bridge with no sign, no warning or anything, then imagine the other girls that are in our group or outside the group that are also dealing with mental illness, suicidal thoughts. The Tennessean came out and covered our event with the girls going out to post messages and signs on this bridge. And it seemed like it was just a domino effect. I don't think they've realized the impact that they had, because it's not just you deserve to live, you're valued when you're not right here.
Right.
Anyone should be reading this. Anyone can really look at that and say, wait a minute, you know what? God, I want to give up. God, I can't do this. But you know what? I deserve to live. I can do this. And all those messages that they were posting on there, it completely went viral. We had different news media come out and want to cover this event. We had the park rangers come and say, you know what, ma'am, they're really not allowed to post messages and signs on here. And I said, sorry, they're going to do it anyway, because it's not about them. It's about the lives that they're saving. Yes. It's not about what they're doing. They didn't want this fame. They didn't want to be on camera. They were just doing a great deed. Yes. And I know that the last time I looked back on it, it got over 1,800 shares. Wow. And I'm just thinking, those are 1,800 lives. Those are 1,800 people that are looking at that message that are saying, man, I am a ray of sunshine. I am valuable. Yes. I do have something that I can offer. So from there, it sort of just became one seed that the girls planted, and it blossomed. Wow. And so now I have partnered with NAMI, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and we are creating self-care packages for middle school and high school girls that are dealing with mental illness. Now, mental illness is like a huge umbrella, right? Yes. So there's other things that you're dealing with besides suicidal thoughts. There's suicidal thoughts, anxiety, there's depression, there's OCD, there's bullying. There's PTSD. So there's so many different avenues and ways that mental illness can reach the younger audience. And so I think these girls, by us doing the one thing that we did on this bridge, it's sort of, with getting different businesses and nonprofits and local businesses, small businesses, Planet Fitness, Great Clips, donating to these self-care packages, Downtown Franklin Rotary, big shout out to them. They were able to put together 60 care packages of hand sanitizer, lotion, bath bombs, and all of these are going to go in this box. And they're going to go out to young girls from youth villages and Centerstone and Rolling Hills Hospital, middle schools around our area in Middle Tennessee. And there's going to be little notes and messages on there that these girls that are part of our group and other people that have wrote on there, just encouraging words that anyone needs to read and look at.
Yeah, and that was the outreach that I was hoping you would mention. And as you can see, it brought me to tears because it is so powerful, because that bridge is notorious. It is actually famous for a location of suicide. I had the honor of hearing a young lady that survived that and landed in a tree.
So she is actually I know exactly who you're talking about. And she is actually going to be one of our guest speakers for our August event that we're having. And I want her to tell her story. One of the other girls actually that is very powerful. And one of the girls actually that also has attempted suicide on that bridge actually was contemplating it, sitting at the ledge when a bike rider came and pulled her over and hauled her down and wrestled her to the ground until police officers came. She is also, not only is she a member of our group and we've done a lot of things with her, she's also going to be a guest speaker at our August conference called Vision for Living, because they have a story to share. And one of the things that these girls have shared with me is that I wish that there would have been a group like this when I was that age. And that has touched me. That's when I know that I'm doing the right thing. I am razor focused, that it's not about me. It's about what God is doing through me to impart into these girls, bringing their value and their confidence up and letting them know that they are valued, that they are loved. Anyone needs to look at that and read that. But if they don't understand it and they don't believe it, then it doesn't matter. It's just words on a paper.
That's right.
So that's my job. And that's why I take my job seriously, is that I want to help them believe that in themselves.
Wow, that is so powerful. Absolutely incredibly powerful. And yes, I heard her speak at a fundraiser for in Franklin in the fall. And I was like, wow, look at what God did. And you know that it's God showing up in those times. But I firmly believe that what the enemy means for harm, God always turns around for good. And so how many lives will be changed as a result of that? So let me ask you this. So their friend, was it one of their friends that it motivated them to do this? They committed suicide, or they had heard about it? Or what made them go, I want to go there to that location?
Because the girl that's part of our group, it was one of her good friends that actually jumped. And the thing about it, though, is that I had a brief conversation with the family, and the girl's parents gave a message through me, who I don't know them personally, but they passed along a message to me that said she did have a lot of issues. There were a lot of things that she was hiding that she didn't want the world to know. Well, there lies the issue, is that she did not reach out for help. Yes. Now, I don't know if the parents also did, but she did not reach out for help. And that's one of the things that that the stigma has to stop, is that you're not weak for reaching out for help. And that's one of the things that I tell the girls even now. I tell my own daughter, who's almost 13, if you want to see a counselor, I absolutely 100% support that. There is nothing wrong with you wanting to see a counselor and talk to someone. Because I am your mom, and there are some things that I know that you don't want to share with me.
Sure.
But you're not weak for wanting to reach out for help. And that's one thing that I wish that girl just held on a little longer. I wish that she would have reached out to me. And that's where I feel like I failed, because now I'm hearing stories of, and I'm getting text messages, I saw sirens on that bridge, or I know someone that has a niece or nephew or someone that committed suicide. It cuts me to the core, because that's one soul that I did not touch, that I did not reach. And so something in me is just, I'm stirred up by this. I'm stirred up by bringing awareness to mental illness, and the fact that I want these girls to really, really know that there's nothing wrong with reaching out for help.
It takes more strength to reach out for help than it does to stay in that mess. So how old was that girl?
19.
Wow. So young. We have a crisis going on out there with not even just with young people, but it starts with young people. And you may or may not know this. Part of our vision is, we want to impact the lives of 13 through 17 with a recovery type high school. And we've been working on the cloud with kids all over the United States, helping them with with our coaching package forward to help them move forward from their areas, whether they're high risk or they've come out of active addiction, or whether the case may be. Yesterday, I literally was thinking about these younger children, ages 8 to 12. Let's talk about them for a minute. What do you see going on in the lives of 8 to 12-year-olds right now?
I think there's a lot of bullying that goes on. I think there's a lot of comparison. We live in a society now where everything is based off of brands, and what you're wearing is makes you who you are and defines who you are. A lot of us were not born with silver spoons and gold spoons in our mouths. And a lot of times mom works, dad works. A lot of these kids are raised by single parents. A lot of these kids are raised by just grandparents. And so I see that there's definitely a lot of comparison. There's definitely a lot of bullying. There's a lack of self-esteem too.
Yes.
And a lot of these kids, and it is starting young, 8, 9 and 10 years old. So by the time they're in that tween age, they've already had 2 years under their belt of low self-esteem, low confidence, thoughts in their head of, I don't deserve to live. And they don't even know that it's suicidal thoughts. They just know, I don't deserve to live. I don't know if we blame social media for that. I don't know if we blame, I don't know what we blame. I think social media definitely has a lot to do with it.
Sure.
It really does. But I don't know. I think social media has a lot to do with what our young people are dealing with now. And it is getting younger and younger, unfortunately. And having social media gives you access to a lot of other people and seeing what a lot of other people have. And if you don't have that, then you feel less than, or you're trying to compete. Your soul is competing with other people's souls, and it's a war.
Yes. That's a good analogy of it, because I don't think a lot of people really realize, they know what it is, but they don't know how to define it. And it is your soul. It's your mind and your will and your emotions, all engaged, all what's going on and trying to measure up. And it comes from a lack of identity. And so, that's where we want to come in and bring that light of the Holy Spirit in, so they can recognize how precious that they are. It is incredible to me how many kids do not know who they are in Christ. And they're scared to even talk about it or inquire of it, because they're not cool if they do. And so how many girls are involved in this right now in your group? Do you have more than one group out there?
No, we just have our group. We meet monthly. One of the things that we do is that, because we have a lot of girls in our group that are not Christ followers, that's one thing. It's not a criteria for you to be a Christian to be in our group. But that's one thing too, is that you invite it for everyone, no matter what your belief is. But then you're going to want to say, when you leave here, my hope is that there's something different about that group.
Yes.
And so I do not Bible bash. I live by the Bible. I do not Bible bash, and I won't make you feel bad if you believe something different. But when you are part of our group, you are going to say, there is something different about that group. What is it? And that is God's light shining on our group. And so we do have girls in our group that are not Christians, that are not Christ followers. We do have girls in our group that have different socioeconomic backgrounds. We do have girls in our group that are homeschooled, public school, private school. We do have different shades of beautiful color in our group, and that's what heaven looks like. And I love that. So we don't discriminate against anything. One of the things, though, is I want these girls to really figure out who they are and their identity. And you hit the nail on the coffin when you said that. I mean, I would love to share with them the love of Christ and who and what God is and what he's done for them. But I can't do that yet until they really feel comfortable in their own skin of who they are. They need to know that there's a Father in heaven who loves them and who died on the cross for them. But again, it's in black and white, it's in the word. But if they don't believe it, then I am just speaking and it's going through one ear and coming out the other. So what I do is, when these girls, and I see them and they're lost and they don't know who they are, they don't know what's going on. And you can see it's like so much information in their head. I talk to them and I say, what do you like to do? What's something that makes your blood pressure boil, that you're so passionate about? Is it giving to homeless people? Is it drawing? Is it art? Is it fashion? Is it jewelry making? Is it mission work and just going to Nashville or a different state? That's when I can cultivate what their desires and dreams are, their identity. And that's huge. Finding out what their identity is, who they are. And then I can start talking about who Christ is.
I love that.
And I introduce that in such a way that they don't even realize it.
So what I see is God has put together a very diverse group of beautiful girls that have different talents, likes, styles, everything. And that's how he is. He's just multifaceted. He just brings all that beautification in one place where they can communicate about what they're dealing with, how they're doing it, how they're coping. I thought I saw a post where they were doing, was it vision boards they were doing?
They were doing vision boards, yes. So they were cutting out different things in magazines of something for 2020. What did they vision for 2020? Some of them were cutting out airplanes, pictures of airplanes, because they said that they wanted to go overseas and travel. And I think that's great. I think it can all be in here, and you can say, yeah, I have visions, I want to do something, but it's until you start cutting out those images and you start writing it down. Write the vision, make it plain. And so when they did that vision board, they loved it. And my daughter still has hers from 2019, from 2018, and she still has hers for this year, for 2020. And some things have manifested and come true, and some haven't. And she can look back and say, Mom, remember 2 years ago when I was thinking about doing this? That dream is still alive. I still want to do that. Bring it on, sister. Bring it into 2020. Yes. The vision has not died.
It's very
so, yeah, we do a lot of things. Yeah.
That is very powerful because it allows them to literally put out there and to really watch these things come to pass. It's kind of like a prayer jar where you put prayers in there and you go back a year later and you see how many prayers God has answered.
Yeah,
it's a way to measure all of this shiny stuff out there in the world. And then it also allows them to bring in what is really important to me. It forces them to think about it because they think all these thoughts for all of us. Okay. You don't have to be a tween or teen or a young college girl. We all got this stuff going on here. When we bring it in and put it out. And I love that you quoted the scripture to write it down and make it plain. This is what God tells us to do.
Absolutely.
So I see you doing biblical things with them, and they don't even really know it's biblical stuff.
They don't even realize it.
Oh, this is so cool. So later on, when they come into the kingdom, they start to read the word. That will be more even impactful for them to see God's hand even before.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think they even realize it when we were serving plates of food and putting plates of food to give to the homeless people. I don't think they realize that's God's will. That's what we should be doing. That's like that. There's nothing more beautiful than these girls humbly putting plates of food together, realizing that these plates of food are going to the less fortunate, to the less than. When our girls come together and we're collecting different things for our self-care packages that are going out to other middle school, high school girls, that's mission work. Yeah. There's nothing better than doing something like that and not even realizing that's biblical. And one other thing, Build Her Bridge, our motto is real, raw, relatable. That's one of the things that we do. I stand by that. God gave that to me. We have real, raw, and relatable conversations and talk every single time. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Real, raw, relatable.
That's important. Absolutely. I love, and I'm always quoting it, what the young rappers say, real recognizes real. And they need that environment. They're not going to tear down those walls and communicate what's going on in their world unless they have a safe environment. And you've created that for these girls. What a beautiful thing. So they meet monthly, and this is in Franklin.
Yes, we meet in Franklin. So we are actually working on a television show. My goodness, talk about television. We are working on a television show. It's called The Tea. And it's 30-minute segments. So far, we've got 4 episodes done. But the girls really this is where the real, raw, relatable comes in, because we talk about current events, but we talk about it relatable to them and how they see it. And how it affects them and how it affects their age group. So we've got 6 to 8 girls that are part of that. We've got our film crew, and we invite different guest speakers. The last time we had Charlotte Miller, who was a chef out in Nashville, that came and monitored and demonstrated how the girls can make healthy snacks. It's different things that are relatable to young girls. Our next one is we're having a self-defense class. When these girls stay home by themselves, they're going to need to learn how they can defend themselves. So we're having that. So we just have a great time with all the girls just coming together. We really do have a great time.
Oh my goodness. This is such valuable things that they really need to know.
Absolutely.
And like you've heard over and over again, I wish there was something like this whenever I was a kid. I went south as a kid. Okay. Trauma caused a lot of issues in my life. Many people don't know. My last completed grade was the 8th grade. Because of trauma. Now, of course, I went a couple weeks into my freshman year, and I tried to go back later. And of course, obviously, I went back many years later, and got my education and ended up getting my bachelor's and went on to get my master's and so forth. But I could have been a statistic.
Absolutely.
So to hear you say this is something that is not only reaching into the personal lives of these girls, giving them a safe place to process, to bounce things off, to be raw and real and relatable. That's incredibly powerful.
Thank you.
Incredibly powerful. Samantha, you've gone way up on my prayer list. I so love what you're doing. It's so needed. And so let's talk for a moment about, I know that you have a book and your daughter has a book.
Yes, we do.
Tell me about
it is. Books. Okay, so my book is called Tabor is Beautiful. I grew up riding horses. I actually own 2 horses, Easy and Ladybug. I love them. But so when I wrote this book 10 years ago. Bullying has always been an epidemic. Bullying has always been there. Now, cyberbullying as of the last few years, but bullying has always been there. And so the book is called Tabor is Beautiful. Tabor is the story of a horse who is bullied and teased because she has a mole on her nose. And I took the mole on her nose because that's a physical thing, a physical feature. But many young kids nowadays, teenagers and kids, and like we said, it's getting younger and younger, 8 to 10, starts at 8, are being teased and made fun of and mocked for how they look. Yeah. And that is just not okay. No. And so the book's overall message is don't change who you are, because part of the story, Tabor tries to brush her nose up against the wall and up against a fence because she wants to remove it. And her mom says, Tabor, you're beautiful just the way you are. Don't change who you are because of what others are saying about you. Yes. And so, again, that's a message that I can look back on my children's book now and say, God, one eye is bigger than the other, smaller than the other. One ear is bigger than the other. I don't like the way I look. Samantha, I made you in my image. There's nothing wrong with you. Don't change who you are for what others are saying about you. Right. So that's the powerful message that I want adults to be able to understand and be able to read it to their young kids, because I think anybody can really take that message and run with it. It's a powerful message. Don't change who you are at all. God made you who you are. Amen. Physical features and all. Don't change who you are. You That's are just the way you are. God made you in his image. Do not change who you are.
Amen. That is so powerful. What age group is it targeted towards?
It's targeted towards 8 to 12-year-olds. And I had 12-year-olds because 12-year-olds like children's books. I don't know about you. I still like children's books.
Me too.
My daughter, 13. Yeah, we love children's books, and the illustrations are amazing. Especially if you love horses, you can relate to it. But the overall message is there. So I would say 8 to 12. If you had a parent that's going to read the book, even 5 or 6 years old, they will love the illustrations. They may not get the message at that age at 5 or 6. But if you, as a parent, as a grandparent, as an uncle, as a guardian, are going to instill this book in them and read this book to them, then don't forget the message. The message is you're beautiful just the way you are. And you can tell your child that at 5. Wow. And they will grow up to understand I am beautiful the way that I am, and I should not change.
Yes, yes. You know, whenever we talk about the kids now in that specific age group that's so delicate, you know, the National Mental Health had came out with this last year that suicide has tripled among that age group in the last decade. Tripled.
I saw that.
This should not be.
No,
this should not be. Not. It's heartbreaking. So I think that we do need to instill this in them. The earlier, the better. I mean, my goodness, reading that. I mean, I wish someone would have gave me that book when I was a little girl. You know, my maiden name was Creech. Okay. And so kids used to say, creature, creature. And I had these beautiful ears, you know. Now, right now, you know, you're probably going, what's wrong with your ears, right? But as a kid, they came forward. And so they would stick out the side of my head, and they called me Dumbo, you know, because Dumbo was big, you know, back then. So, you know, I went through that whole thing. Now, let's fast forward. You know, let's fast forward several years from now, where kids are literally taking things like that and making memes out of it or splattering it all over. So you're not just getting it at school, you're getting it from all areas. Absolutely. So for those of you watching this, I'm going to have Samantha back, and we're going to do a whole episode on bullying.
Yes, we are.
What it is, what it is not, what to look for. What is things that as adults say that are bullying statements that they don't even really think of it.
No, like, because one of the girls in our group,
you know, I mean, you know, the things that we don't think that can affect the developing brain of a young and girl. And we're talking today about girls, but this is for guys too. Kids are, they are living in a world that is very different from the world that we grew up in. And many people would say, well, yeah, sure, I was bullied and I made it out okay. This is different. Okay, this is different. So when you're talking about all of the, and I'm so glad that you're putting a focus on mental health. I spent the last 4 years working with the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse, trying to break down the stigma of active addiction, and what it is and what it is not. And so it's just really challenging when we see a world around us with so many hurting people. And so being willing to talk about the tough stuff, Samantha, that's where that
real raw relatable comes in.
Yes.
We have to have the honest conversation. We have to be raw enough to realize that we have a stigma, and the city of Franklin as well, now that they're starting to take measures as far as putting barriers up and starting to have that conversation along the Natchez Trace Bridge, but we can't make it seem as if we're in a bubble and we're just going to ignore or scoot it under the rug and not talk about the fact that many of our young people have a substance abuse issue. Many of our young people have a mental health issue. We have to talk about it. And the faster we talk about it, the faster we address it. And the faster we address it, the faster we realize that we have got to be, have a solution to this issue.
Yes.
We have to. And those numbers need to come down because it has tripled. I have seen statistics from NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and it's sickening. It really is sickening. It's, I don't know, I'm getting emotional even thinking about that. I can't even imagine as a parent just trying to want to hide the fact that your child is going through something, or you don't know how to reach out for help. And that's one thing too, I think a lot of parents may not know. So we have to have that conversation of here is information provided to you. You have to seek help, and you can't hide it under the rug, and you can't make it seem as if because you live in a fancy house or a small apartment that you're not going through issues. You're going through issues, and you have got to seek help.
Yes.
That's heartbreaking to think that young girls now are dealing with this and are battling with this, that there are demons inside of their heads that are telling them that they need to take their own life. That is not okay.
That is not okay. And, they're getting it from so many sides. There's a spiritual warfare of it, because we know that there is a true enemy and the accuser of the brethren that is constantly out there throwing out those thoughts. And if they don't know how to take their thoughts captive, they start to resonate on those and start to believe those. And we know that our actions come from our beliefs. So with that being said, they're getting bombarded spiritually. They're getting bombarded environmentally with social media, with the things that are going on in school. And then also physiologically through imbalances from various things, including and not limited to dietary things, the way they feel. And I have found being in long-term recovery for many years and dealing with people with addictions and dealing with people with mental health issues, that the reason that people use substance abuse is because they want to feel different.
That's right. They
want to cover it up. They want to feel different. So when you're raw, real, and relatable, and I apologize for my kitty showing up, when you're raw, real, and relatable, it gives them permission to say, what, I thought that too. And when those walls start to come down, and you mentioned Williamson County, interesting. I have a friend in Williamson County whose son overdosed, and it's tragic. But I read some statistics because I sat on a panel over there, and I read some statistics. Now, Williamson County, for those of you that are outside of the area, is Franklin, Tennessee. It is one of the most prosperous counties in the United States. I believe it's the richest, isn't it?
Yes. The top 7, I believe. I think it's number 7 on the list or something. Yes.
And when it comes to suicide, it is way up on the list.
Absolutely. And substance abuse.
Yes.
Yep.
So
let's talk about that. Yes.
So she said something powerful. She said it doesn't matter because this does not affect any social economical group. I've heard people say so many times, well, my neighborhood or my kids or, in their sphere of influence, they wouldn't do any of that. Bull crap. Okay.
Yeah.
I was a kid that went to public schools and I was a kid that went to private schools. And the difference between those two is the quality of drugs that they had.
That's right.
The kids at the public school had a whole lot more money to get a better quality of drugs.
Yeah. So, and you can hide it better. You can hide it better when you have money. So, I mean, your parents are friends with police officers and things like that. You're able to get away with a lot more things than you would be in any other area, in any other city. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. The enemy doesn't discriminate. He will go after you, and he is looking for those people that are hurting and to bring
and most vulnerable.
Yes, hurting and vulnerable. And I'm a firm believer that the Lord will bring holy conviction into their life where they want to get free and they want to talk about it and they want to get all of this stuff out. But immediately, this Bible says in John 10:10, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And Jesus came so he can have life and life more abundant. But what happens is the enemy shows up and he brings guilt and shame and condemnation. They hear these thoughts that, well, nobody else deals with this, or this is only me.
Yep.
And it's just on.
And it's to numb it too. They want to numb the pain because, like you said, they want to feel different, but they also want to numb it. And that's where it's like that's where that borderline of taking their own life or just numbing it. Yes. And we want to get to the bottom of that because why would we want you? I told this to one of the girls in our group. I don't want to see the fake you. I have no desire to be fake. I do not. That's why it's real, raw, relatable, real. That's the first word that's in our group's motto is real. And so if you're putting on a facade, then I'm getting to know the facade. I'm not getting to know the real you. And so that's one thing we are not about is we are not about being fake. Our girls can deal with everything from anxiety, depression, and suicide to homosexual thoughts to abuse in the home. We're going to talk about it because those are real issues. Those are things that you're dealing with. Well, we're going to talk about it. We're not going to hide it. We're not going to cover it up. And you're not any better. You're not any worse than any one of the other girls in our group. Well, we want you to know that you're not alone and you're not going to go through this by yourself.
Wow, that's so powerful, creating that environment. So let's talk a little bit about that awesome conference coming up. Now, I already told my granddaughter, I said, okay, I got 4 seats in my car. And so you find 3 girls because we're going. And she's like, I have to. And I said, yeah, you have to. We're going.
Yes. So we have different guest speakers. The event is Saturday, August 29th from 9:30 to 12:30 at Gateway Community Church in Franklin. We have Trillia Newbell, who's one of our guest speakers. We have Susan Robinson, who's one of our guest speakers, Brianne Brown, who is one of the girls that she's not a young girl anymore. She's in her early 20s, who actually did attempt suicide and did actually jump off that bridge, but the branches caught her. She's going to talk about her story. We have Lauren Clements coming to talk. We have the amazing and fabulous Erica Francis from WKRN News 2. Love her. She's going to come and really impart positivity and confidence and building up girls' esteem and talking about her own backstory, how she was teased and made fun of. And she's going to talk to the girls too. And then we have Kimber, who's our musical guest. But tickets are $10. It's on Eventbrite. You get a swag bag and there's a yogurt bar. So you cannot, for $10, you can't beat it, but you do not want to miss it. It's going to be a great time. We're going to have a really great time.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so for those of you watching this going, I don't have any girls. Tell them the age groups. I know it's from like tween to college, or tell us about.
We have girls there that come and go in our group. They're 10 and 11. We have girls in our group that are 19 and 20. So it's really tween and teen girls. So I would say 12 all the way on up through 18. A lot of the college age girls that are in our group, they like to be our guest speakers and kind of just hang out with the girls. One girl does photography and she's going to do a photo shoot with these girls, talk about building up their esteem. One of the other girls is Lauren, who's part of our group, and she wants and likes to hang out with our girls and really talk to them about building up their confidence. So yeah, tween and teen girls, come on, bring it. You can come from Rutherford, you can come from Nashville, you can come from Cheatham, you can come from Spring Hill, wherever you are. Find a way to find us. Our dates are on our website too. And here's a little brochure, and here's Bill Turbridge right there. So Would love for you to come. Yeah, thank you.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I want you guys to get this into the hands of as many people as possible, because you may be thinking, I don't have any grandkids that age, or my kids are grown, or all of these different things. You may be thinking, well, I don't know anyone, but let me tell you something. Send some kids from your church.
Absolutely.
Go to your youth pastor and say, hey, what girls here, because they all can benefit from it. I don't care where they're at, where they appear. Let's say this. I don't care where they appear to be at with their self-image. They all need to hear this message, because maybe they have a positive self-image, but they need to be girls there that don't. I'm a firm believer that everything that we get is not always for us. It's also for us to reciprocate. It's also for us to pay it forward. So get as many kids to this event as possible. I know I'm going to take a cartload over, and I hope that you will too, because this has been a very powerful, great time for them to be raw, real, and relatable.
Yep.
So
that's our motto.
I always in the broadcast asking people to bring a key. What key would you say to those parents, grandparents, those college age girls, and different people? What key would you bring to them to encourage them today?
The one word that I always thinking about Build Her Bridge and the girls, thinking about my own background, the one key that I would say is authenticity.
Yes.
Like I just said, you can't put on a facade, and you can't be fake. You can't put on this show as if everything's okay. That's not authentic. People don't identify with authentic, because that's not who you are.
Right.
Be authentic as much as you can, because you will definitely be a lot more real, raw, relatable when you see authenticity than if you see just fake.
Amen.
Authenticity gets you a lot farther in life as well.
Yes.
So,
for many years, I started speaking as soon as I can. I got saved in 1998. And for about the first 3 years of me speaking and teaching and all of that, I had on my Christianese face. I'm delivered, and and all that. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, the Lord dealt with me in 2000, and I think it was 2004. And by 2005, every time that I would speak in a women's retreat, we would do these things called Freedom Weekends, actually encounter weekends, different things over the year. And each time the Lord would have me share bits and pieces of my testimony. And he kept taking me farther and farther and farther, and ripping off all of that hallelujah, amen, all that Christianese crap, and getting real and raw to where people understood it. And I'll tell you what, women, started going, oh my gosh, I was raped too. I was molested too. I mean, they would just, and it gave them an atmosphere. So I love the real, raw, relatable.
Thank you.
That's how I roll. That's how I get much more freedom. And then I would do it in these small private groups, but now I've done it on TV, and I'm like, I don't know what anybody thinks. If one person hears it and gets free, and gets their blinders off, and one person, it's worth me. Same thing with my early years of substance abuse. I'm not anonymous. I'm not anonymous, because I want people to understand there's help on the other side. People do recover. Now, that's not for everybody, and maybe that's not where you're at in your healing journey. But you mentioned something, a resource that I just want to showcase before we get off the broadcast. She talked about NAMI, the National Alliance of Mental Illness. If you are a parent that is dealing with a child with co-occurring disorders of substance abuse or bipolar or depression or anxiety or any of these type of things, there is support for the family. That's what NAMI is. NAMI is help for the family. You need to check it out. Go to the website, get some resources, reach out to Samantha. In addition to that, I want to point out that Samantha's ministry is like ours. We all need funds to operate with what we do. Yes. And so I want you to, when we're done, we're going to put the link for her Giving Fuel page, where if you want to make a donation to her ministry. Also, in addition to that, I want to put the link. If you want to buy these books, buy the books. Okay.
Yes.
Tell us about your daughter's book. I know Saber. Okay. Tell us about your daughter's book.
Yeah. So her book is called Making It Stick. It's a gymnastics book. And so she talks about her journey through gymnastics. And granted, she's 12, she's almost 13, but she still talks about it from her point of view, about the stress and pressures of doing gymnastics, and she talks about everything from being one of the only African Americans in her gym club. She talks about her body image. She talks about the fact that there are some girls that look different from her, that were counting calories and already just snacking on an apple a day. I mean, literally conversations that my daughter's having with other girls at 9, 10, and 11 years old before she wrote this book. And so it's all in that book, but she takes a gymnastics term, which is called stick it, and she made it into making it stick. But it's just conversation. She does have a lot of gymnastics terms in there, but it's just really a good book that talks about her life in gymnastics, but talks about everything that young girls deal with nowadays. So check it out, Making It Stick by Samantha DeGrasse.
Oh, Sophia, I haven't met you, but I love you already. And I'm going to go to your next book because I believe that girls need to hear these messages from their peers. You know, how powerful is that? And she's almost 13 now.
She's almost 13. She'll be 13 in July.
Oh, I can't wait to meet her. It's so exciting to see a young girl taking life experience and saying, hey, you know, here's what I've gone through. And because then some other girl says, hey, it's okay. You know, maybe they're not in gymnastics, but they can relate to that, whether they're in cheer or soccer or basketball or whether they're piano or whatever, because there is a level of pressure that these kids are under. And a lot of that expectation of a life is so real.
Yes.
For her.
Yes. And that's the thing. So remove gymnastics from it and put in what your daughter or what you know, it can be soccer, cheer, whatever, just school. I mean, whatever it is, there are pressures. And my daughter takes gymnastics because gymnastics is her life and that is her world. And she takes it and she has some stories that she shares on there. And there's some parents that have input that wrote into me that I included in there. She has a schedule that she put of what she eats in a day when it's competition season. And so you're able to take a look at that because a lot of it is very interesting what she eats and daily routines and making sure that she's physically fit, making sure her mind is right, making sure she takes out all the unnecessary stressors and things that she's going through, and she just focuses on what she's about to do at that moment at her gymnastics meet. So
wow, I've got to get this book for my granddaughters. I've got 2 granddaughters. The one is just turned 11 and the other one is getting ready to turn 11 actually this Saturday. And so so this is perfect for them. They can relate to that. So I love that. So we're going to put the link to that book. We're going to put the link to Samantha's book. We're going to put the link to her Giving Fuel, and we're going to put the link to the conference. Now, I prefer you do all. Okay. But, you know, pick and choose, get what you need. Get this out, share this video to those that need to hear it, because if you have not caught anything else from this video, we need to grab a hold of what Samantha is telling these girls and telling the multitudes to be raw, real, and relatable.
That's right.
I love that. Samantha, I want to thank you for being on the broadcast. I hope
you for having me.
Will get out to the event. It is, tell us the date again.
It is Saturday, August 29th at Gateway Community Church, 584 Franklin Road in Franklin, Tennessee. Vision for Living, Saturday, August 29th, 9:30 to 12:30.
I love it. It's going to be an amazing time. My music is still not working. I'm not sure what's going on with my app. So we'll close out the broadcast without my intro and outro music. And that's because I am real and I am raw and I am relevant. I am not. Love it. It does not bother me that nothing works because, hey, that's the impulsivity of social media and doing live videos. So y'all check out the broadcast. Make sure you go, you like, you follow, and get this into the hands of as many people as possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. God bless you.
Thank you.